Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Vynora Effect. I am your host, Alecia Maximo. We have the wonderful Tylee Gooderham over here and Nick Gipson. How are you guys?
Awesome.
Hey, good. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. Well, today, as far as the Vynora effect, we're going to dive into some ideas, bend some minds, ask Nick some questions. I would love to bring the focus over to our partner today, Nick Gipson. He's a certified expert in the cybersecurity space, and I welcome you on this podcast because I have a lot of questions. I feel like cybersecurity is one of the most important bridges here and things that we need to express on the conversation today, right? So, as far as for Nick, I would love to hear more about how you got started with cybersecurity, your expertise in cybersecurity, and overall, what led you to dive into this industry.
Sure. Yeah. So I started my journey in my adulthood in the military. I did 6 years in the Army, and I realized that I had a knack for technology then, and I wanted to get out and kind of pursue that a little more. So I found cybersecurity, and I found that I could pursue that technical aspect while being able to help people, and that was really like one of the best things I could have asked for. So I dove into it, and since then I've been in for 10 years, been in cybersecurity for 10 years. I've worked for the Department of Defense, Fortune 100s as a digital forensic investigator, and then I've done a lot of cool things all over the world. But it all just started from my curiosity and liking like technology and wanting to learn more about that. So yeah, that's where we are now. Now I run my own company, and we help small businesses.
Nice.
Well,
Well, overall, that's
I
that's
was,
very impressive so far. Sorry, Tylee, go ahead.
I was going to say, in the Army, what was it that triggered you into cybersecurity specifically, other than just technology?
I really was into radios and communication and secure communication. I became a radio operator for my reconnaissance platoon, and was a lead and I wanted to just continue that whole aspect of it. I first thought I
Yeah.
wanted to build radios as an electrical engineer, and then I failed physics, so I found IT,
Yeah.
and I really
That
loved it.
works.
It was my calling.
Yeah, I'm very impressed by that pivot there where you gained that experience, but and then you saw a need for it in that space, right? And as far as Tylee's background, I know that you have some experience in the technical engineering background. So do you relate to I would say the realm of cybersecurity too?
Me? Yeah, absolutely. Well, I work in the IT industry, as you mentioned, and I'm a
Mhm.
programmer, and that kind of thing comes up all the time by our security team, and they broadcast out, "Hey, watch for this. Here's some courses you need to take, mandatory, just so you
Mhm.
understand." And actually, as tedious as those courses were, it does cause you to look at your emails and certain notices you get with a lot more, scrutiny.
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
Oh,
programmers.
very interesting. Sorry, go ahead, Nick.
I was just gonna say, programmers in cybersecurity sometimes butt heads.
yeah,
We do, because the programmer's job is rightfully to get the product out on time and on budget, and my job is to make sure that it's secure when it
yep.
gets out to the public. So sometimes that has a little give and take that we got to do, and we got to work together.
Oh
Of
yeah,
course.
yeah,
I
and
w-
it's a beautiful symbiotic relationship. And yeah, you're right. There is the butting of heads, but I think there's an acceptance
Mm.
when one of these programmers. I haven't
Mhm.
been bitten very hard yet myself, but I
That's
know.
good.
Yeah,
Knock on
yeah.
wood.
But yeah, exactly. But things are getting more intelligent, right? The scammers are getting more creative and intelligent, and they're
Mm.
recruiting AI and all sorts of smart. You have nicks on the other side of the fence, and we have,
Right.
we have
Yes.
a nick on this side and a nick on the other. So you guys have to battle it out.
Yeah, I would love to expand that subject because of course AI is here. It's a very big trending topic currently, right? So as far as you guys working in the industry and asking this question to you, Nick, do you find that AI is in the capability asset of I would say going into the direction into cybersecurity, but more on like the scamming side, or either taking over those types of systems. I would love to hear your opinion on that because my thoughts in AI is that we're all human and we're using it as a tool, we're using it as a courier currently, but
Mhm.
where do we have the control to we're giving all the AI this information, but let's say it gets really, really smart and you're feeding it information, especially if you're adopting AI into a cybersecurity system or business,
Mhm.
how do you handle that type of, I would say, merge currently?
Like Ty was saying, that training is the biggest aspect of it, and
Mhm.
knowledge. People need to know that if you can't just upload your W-2 and all your banking statements and have it balance your books and not think it's going to steal your data as well.
Right.
Yeah.
It comes. I like to tell people that, if you want your phone to unlock when you look at it, you're going to have to give Apple a picture of your face.
Hmm.
It has to happen with that side, the sort of information. And when it comes to AI, what I'm seeing on my side is that it's lowered the barrier to entry for hacking.
Mm.
Um, it used to be, yeah, you can go download any sort of virus you want from GitHub or any other online repository that's out there, and run it and whatever. Now I can run web application and penetration tests from the ChatGPT prompt. I've done it. I can go to whatever website I want and it'll tell me all the vulnerabilities for that website just
Huh.
from the
Mm.
prompt.
That is
Wow.
so cool. I haven't tried
It's
that.
cool. It's cool, but it's scary. Like
Yeah.
Right.
now everyone has that ability.
Hmm. Exactly.
So
That opens up all sorts of cans of worms, doesn't it? Because now you don't need a team of really intelligent people trying to hack into it. You just ask AI to figure it out.
Hmm.
yes, I mean, web app penetration testers that do like bug bounty programs. Ty, if you know those, bug bounty programs they're like kind of like crowdsourced hacking, but for good. Companies pay these people, and whoever wants to come and hack their website and
Oh
tell
yeah.
them about their vulnerabilities, they can go and do that, and they'll pay them a little bounty. Um, they've been using AI for a couple of years now and making a lot more money than they used to be because they're able to find vulnerabilities a lot faster. So
Mm.
it's come to the point where AI is not going to take over someone's job. It's going to enhance their job to the point where they only need one person to run a team of people, basically, or what they do the work that a team of people would do just by running the AI.
Hmm. Very interesting
Well,
thought.
can we get into a practical example? So, like,
Of course.
just today, my company sent out a broadcast. The security group sent out and said, what exactly is AI powered phishing?
Mm.
So, phishing, of course, is being presented with, something that looks like one thing and is actually another, and you eventually click on something and it sends and it reacts to it. But AI powered phishing, they're so lifelike. Like, we were trained in these courses to, pay attention to misspellings, and then you're
Mhm.
trained to do that. You look for obvious errors. You're not going to find too many with AI, generated ones. So what is it that we can do to circumvent that or pay attention to it? Because we have a tendency to, like, they were subtle to begin with, and then
Yeah.
became obvious only when we were kind of trained and started looking for these things. And then my poor parents and your poor parents and grandparents, and
Hmm.
all they want to do is see pictures of their grandson, but they end up clicking on a thing that they didn't know what it was, and now they got you on the phone and like, where's my money?
Yes. I
Yeah.
mean, I like to tell this story, and I'll answer that question in just a second. I like to tell this story though. My business partner, his mom is a client of mine. She's a bookkeeper for a power washing company in Northeast Arkansas. Not someone you would suspect as being needing cybersecurity services. She got $18,000 stolen from her in a cyber scam because she
Hmm.
clicked on the wrong link. It happens to everyone nowadays. If you run a business, you are susceptible to cyber criminals. I don't know of any business that can't operate without an email address in today's world.
Right. Well, how about in a small, like, so that's a good example. And that kind of opens up a couple questions for me is, so a small business like that, one man show, one person show in that case, maybe two people. What is it that they can do if they've got a network that houses the computer that they use for whatever resources for their company? What is it that they can do to that isn't too overly pricey, startup company, that they can put in front of or behind their computer to save them the best, keep them the safest, I guess?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, also to add on to Tylee's question, like, what steps can small businesses, small business owners take to cultivate a culture that prioritizes cybersecurity on top of Tylee's question as well?
Yes, and they kind of go hand in hand, because the first thing that anyone should do, the very minimum amount of security that everyone should have, is strong passwords on your accounts, including having multi-factor authentication. Now, what multi-factor authentication is that 6-digit code that gets texted to you or emailed to you or something along those lines, a second form of verification into your accounts. I'll tell you, the amount of times I've seen large enterprise companies get hacked simply by having someone get an account compromise. MGM is the latest that I always think about. The casino. I don't know if you heard about that, but they just had someone call their help desk and say, "Hey, I'm an employee. Can you reset my password?" And they reset their password.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was it.
Right. So to all the listeners out there, please don't make your password your dog's name or your kid's birthday. Kind of make it very complex so the hackers have more trouble hacking, and also
Should
proper training.
14 characters long, upper and lower case, with numbers and special characters.
And so what about then password managers? Because now we've got we've got a whole bunch of passwords all cryptically, nicely encoded, with that recommendation, at least 12 characters, 28 characters. At that point, it almost doesn't matter.
That's the next layer.
That's
the next layer to go, is get everyone into a password manager, or get at least the majority of the people, as many as you can, into a password manager. They even have business-wide password managers that are fairly cheap for a subscription base, but there's things that are free out there. For example, like LastPass, 1Password. There are the browser-based, like Google and Chrome and all those things. I want to caution you on those, because, for example, if you use Google Workspace or have a Google Gmail account and you're using the same account to store your passwords, if that one account gets compromised, they also get all your passwords. So
good point.
Get a second. I like to use a second or a third party password manager to have another layer of security in between that. And if for those out there who don't know what a password manager is, it's basically a vault that you store all your passwords in. You can make them ungodly huge and unrememberable, and then all you have to do is remember one master password to access that vault. It will auto fill in those passwords for you when you go to those login pages. It's a much more secure way, because you can then you just generate gobbledygook passwords and throw it in there and never have to remember them. That is how the number one way: password security as well as password management.
And those password managers are dynamite, because you could lose the computer, but it's stored in a remote site, and then you log in somewhere else. And but that was valuable to know about the Google or the at least the Google centric password managers that might not be a good thing to use as much. But can you recommend any lightweight? I mean, I use LastPass. I pay for the premium, and it works fairly well, because it works also on my phone, and which is that comes up a lot of two-factor authentication. As you mentioned, that's a key thing to have enabled for your own security. And for those who don't know what that is, and That would be rare now because you're kind of forced through it. The two-factor. Why don't you tell what two-factor?
Yes, it's that 6-digit code that you get sent when you try to log into your accounts. Usually, I mean, every bank account out there has mandated to have those. So people that have a bank account definitely know what that is. But nowadays, any account that's worth its salt has multi-factor authentication. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the socials, all your Proton Mail, all the Yahoo and all those other sites, they have multi-factor authentication. Now, the thing is that they're not on by default on everything, which is a pain. So there are some times where you're going to have to go and look for the security to make it more secure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And sorry, Alecia, I want to get this in.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
do grumble at them. It's like, oh, here comes another. I got to authenticate again. And oh man, they got to send it to my thing. Yeah, small amount of grumbling will, if you don't run into a loss of, funds or security or IPO, or intellectual property, then, suck it up. It's a small price to pay.
Yeah, very small. I mean, 6 seconds of your time versus 3 weeks of your time if you go down with a ransomware event. Like, good Lord,
Yes,
it could be business killer.
That's actually. And sorry, Alecia, I keep cutting you off. I apologize. But
I love. It's okay. I love your passion. Keep going, Tylee. Go ahead.
I'm really kind of excited about it.
It's important, right?
And he just mentioned the thing that I wanted to ask about was the what did you just say? Got so excited I kind of forgot what it was. Ransomware. So ransomware. I want to talk about that. And I wonder if you, first of all, maybe give it a bit of a description so people understand what it is, and then maybe you could describe a situation where this has come up in your experience.
Sure. So ransomware is a name that may sound more technical than it actually is, but we call anything that's malicious software malicious software, right? So anything that's malicious software and then used for a ransom, they lock up a system and then make a ransom demand. That's called ransomware. We're not very creative in our industry.
Very straightforward.
Yeah, but what it is it's encryption against you. So we use encryption to keep bad people out. We encrypt the files to keep them locked down. But what can happen is if someone uses that encryption in a nefarious way, you can actually use it to ransom somebody. So let's say that I go and I encrypt all of your files on your Google Drive, and then I say you're going to have to pay me $1,000 to get the decryption key to unlock your files or whatever it is. That is ransomware. And it can happen with any device on any system anywhere. If they can lock you out and demand a money to bring you back in, they will ransomware you. That's why I was saying account security as well, because it doesn't have to be encryption. They could just lock you out of your bank accounts or whatever accounts there are. I don't know, your AWS accounts, whatever they are.
Right.
And demand that you give them money to get them back, and it's a pain to deal with. Then you go with, well, what do you do? Do you pay the ransom or do you not pay the ransom? The FBI says you'll go to jail if you pay the ransom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the FBI doesn't like that very much.
Interesting. So like, speaking of that, if that happens to a small, medium-sized business where they have the knowledge of running a business, but as far as cybersecurity, they're kind of iffy on the details and the password protection, like what are the industries that are most vulnerable to a cyber attack or ransomware from a small to medium-sized business perspective?
Yeah, two right off the top: accounting and healthcare. With a close third of finance, anything in the finance industry. Anytime you have sensitive information and money being exchanged and moved across, that's where the cyber criminals are where they're at. It's kind of like when you're trying to move a prisoner from one prison to the other. The most time they're vulnerable is when they're on the move, right? When they're in that van from the other.
Yeah.
That's the same thing with data. The time the most and money. The most time it's vulnerable is when it's on the move. Which is why I call the season of basically the holiday season at the end of the year from November to December. I call it hack season, because that's when the cyber crime just skyrockets, because that's when all the money is moving. Businesses are finalizing their end of the year profits. People are shopping for business, shopping for the holidays. People, all this sort of things is happening all at the same time. And cyber criminals are just sitting there going, keep on sending that stuff, because it's super easy to hit, to grab a moving target in this field.
And now that we're all like tied to our phones, we do all of our work from our phones. Our banks are connected to our phones, and everything is. And we have apps that coalesce all our financial situations, our investments and stuff. What do we do there? I mean, that's a weak area. Obviously, your phone becomes a very vulnerable point of access.
Also, to add on to that, Tylee, I would love to ask the question about data and data protection, combined with cybersecurity, because with iPhones and connecting to our social media accounts, it's like, is our data really protected? And what's the best way to protect our financial data or even our account data with our phones or through our computers?
So Tylee, can you go with your question first? I got sidetracked with sorry.
So now that we have everything accessible from our phones, what is the best level of security we would want to have on our phones that keep us as safe as possible?
Yes, and then I'll go with data protection. Yes, so there is antivirus, just like there is computers, but for your phone. You can put that on there and run scans or sort of thing. My company provides an enterprise, a military grade version of it that's put on Androids and iPhones alike, and whatever there is. There's even a process called mobile device management, MDM. This is where we can put something onto those devices that will actually wipe the data clean if it gets lost, stolen, what have you. That's a really great way for business owners specifically to keep their company-owned devices out of, if you're giving out your cell phone to an employee, you can put this information on, you put this program on there, and then, oh yeah, he lost it in the lake fishing or whatever. Okay, we'll just wipe the data and then go about our day, and nothing.
So
happened.
you can, if you had that installed on the phone, you would be able to wipe it regardless of its state. If it was locked out, or if it was, is there a state where you would not be able to initiate a wipe?
I could initiate the wipe even if it's offline. As soon as it gets connected to online again, it will immediately wipe all the data.
Oh, very cool.
That's genius.
Very cool. Yeah. And we would do that. We would do that just for security, right? So, I guess.
Yes.
So yeah, just so if I lose it and I can't find it, I don't want anybody else to find it and hack it.
Yes, because you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised at how much information, company information, your employees are storing on their personal phones that you make them use.
Yeah.
I don't know of a company out there today, besides of maybe a handful, that are actually providing all of their employees with company phones. The majority of them are making them log into the company email through their personal devices.
Yep.
That's fine, because you can put security on the application, the Outlook, Google, whatever. You can put your security on that. But what happens when they download an attachment onto their phone or something on? Now you got company data intermixed. Yeah, company data intermixed with, and this is going right into that data protection question too. The company data intermixed with personal data. Now you gotta go, if there's a breach of that person's phone or something like that, or let's say that person's account, and you need to look at their phone, you have to get their permission. It has to be like they have to tell you, yes, you can go and take out all of my phone and data devices and all my pictures, boudoir or not, and go into this investigation.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of Americans are going to allow for that to happen. But the data privacy aspect of it, as a business owner, that should scare you. You should be like, oh crap, all my people are downloading things onto their personal phones, and I have no way to protect that information. What if you're an accountant and the bookkeeper is downloading W-2s onto her phone or their phone, and there's nothing you could do about it? It's gone now.
Mm-hmm.
But with the mobile device protection and and antivirus things like that for the phones, we can protect that. There's also something that we offer for data prevention and protection specifically. It's called data loss prevention. Same thing if you've ever heard of retail loss prevention. Same concept. We're going to manage and monitor all of the sensitive information that's being accessed and used in the ecosystem of the company. So let's say that it's on a Google Drive, and you got a bunch of W-2s because you're an accounting firm or something like that. My systems go out and we go and tag all the files that have a social security number, a credit card, or banking information, whatever we have. We tag it and we monitor them specifically. Like we put security monitoring on those files specifically. We know where they're being uploaded. We know where they're being downloaded, being emailed from. We can even stop those things from happening, prevent the data from ever leaving the environment. That's how Bank of America is doing it, but not they don't always do it the best. But that's how the big banks in Fortune 100, that's how they do things. They put specific monitoring on their data. So that's what I took that whole concept, and that's what I do for small businesses.
So you actually tag the known files and file types, and then just monitor them, make sure they're not taken away or added or modified or whatever.
Yeah, we tag them and do data classification. So we classify what kind of information they are, sensitive information, non-sensitive information, public, not public, that sort of thing. We tag that.
Got it.
And then we can monitor all those sort of things. So a lot of my accounting clients, for example, always want to have people going in, and they should always have people going into a portal to send their documents to. Well, sometimes people don't listen and they just email them documents. Well, I can go in and remove those documents from the email server. I do that because one, it prevents any sensitive information being just let out there, and two, it's a compliance issue. If those accounts get compromised, even if you don't mean to delete to have it in there, that is now something you have to report to them. And just because you deleted it from your inbox doesn't mean it's actually deleted from
right.
Yeah.
Well, you go ahead, Alecia.
Okay, no, it's okay. I was going to say back to what you're saying about the compliance issues, especially with cybersecurity and AI. I would love to dive a little deeper into that because that is becoming the new norm while we're integrating AI into these types of different business models. And doing the compliance or having these clients or customers or even employees fill out these forms to get their information and sign that form like it's okay for you to collect my data, I'm signing up for this membership, etc. So I would love to dive a little bit deeper and pick your brain, Nick, about like where do you see that transitioning into like the new norm where everybody has AI into their business? We've got to add cybersecurity now for the protection of the actual asset. Where do you see that going from now until the future?
Yes, I think that every business should be using AI to some aspects of it, but you should be learning how to use the AI as a tool. AI is like a chainsaw. You got to know how to use it properly, or you're going to cut your leg off.
Right. Great way to put it. Yeah. Great way to put it. I like that one.
Yeah. So but that's where people go wrong. They don't know how to use it, and they go into this tool and they just start loading in information they shouldn't, or utilizing certain tools like DeepSeek that are based out of the Chinese state that may not have the best interest in heart with your information. And you could say that about Google and everything else too if you want. They don't have your best interest at heart, but so just know what you're putting into the AI system. Use it, 100% use it, because everyone else is. If you're behind the times if you're not using AI right now.
Yeah.
But know how to use it, know the limitations of it, and know how to be secure with it. If you want to be, if you want to just,
that limitation thing, that's a tall order. No, it's
Right.
limitations. I don't know what they are.
I found its limitations by just asking it. I always just say, hey, can you do this? And it'll say yes or no, usually.
I saw something interesting. Somebody was talking to its AI and turned it off, and it said, hey, are you offline? And it said, yeah, I'm offline. And it said, and then he said, so you can't hear what I'm saying? And it said, no, I can't hear what you're saying.
But it's like responding, right? It's responding back
it's
to be offline.
Okay.
I find that
where
very
to go with this
interesting.
now. It's lying to me.
Yeah, like with AI and ChatGPT and all the other tools out there, I find it very intriguing about training the language model to your best ability to learn about you, learn about what the answers that you're looking for, but also learning how to prompt to feed the information, which brings me to my next question. Nick, do you use AI with your cybersecurity business, or do you kind of like use it more as a personal tool?
Oh no, I use AI every single day, all day long.
Right.
It has greatly helped increase the time in which it takes to do things, and that used to take a long time in our industry, like coding, for example. Ty knows what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
It used to take a long time to go do code reviews and peer reviews of code, because you have to go line by line. Now you can just load it into a system and it'll tell you all the errors that you had. And it just makes it so much easier. It lowers that bar a little bit more too, where I don't have to hire a developer. I can do more of the development myself, because I know a little bit of what I'm doing, and I know how it operates. Now,
Right.
would I say that some normal Joe off the street will be able to be like an expert programmer just by using ChatGPT? No, definitely not.
Right.
You need to know what you're doing. You need to know how. This is a great. I always think of this: garbage input, garbage output. If you put crappy input into it, it's going to bring you crappy output. So I always, my prompts are huge, because I want to put as much detail in it as possible, and then even just tweak it from them afterwards. So
that's key. What you just said is very key when you're interacting with artificial intelligence. And depending on, I don't know if it changes too much between Gemini and ChatGPT and all the other language models, but there is a personality, and you form your questions a certain way, certainly with ChatGPT, a certain way to achieve a certain result. And like you said, your prompts are huge, because you're covering all the bases. It's like that wishing for the proper wish to a genie that's going to screw you if you don't ask for exactly what you want.
Right. Right.
So, I say that AI is like an alien trying to describe making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich to an alien that's never been to Earth. Like, describe that process. They don't even know what a knife is. They don't know anything else. You have to literally describe it word for word. AI is dumb. It's artificial intelligence, but we have to prompt it to get the results that we want.
Right. So, like speaking of that, when we look back into history, when computers and phones are being developed, artificial intelligence always has been around, developing and learning these different codes to start the Apple company, or the HP companies out there. So, question for you, Nick. I love to speak about future tense. I think about a lot of like Star Wars and a lot of different AI type of movies out there. What do you think? What are the emerging cyber threats that small businesses should be preparing for the next few years? Because while we're pushing through the future, we're learning, we're adopting. But what do you think are the threats that we should be preparing for?
The biggest thing is that AI will allow, and has already allowed, for criminals to become very hyper specific on their phishing and their other tactics. For example, one of the first clients that I had when I started my business was a small town accountant, and he had 300 clients, and got all of his clients information hacked, because he simply got an email one day that said, "Hey, I'm a new client. Here's my W-2. Please download it and give me a call." And it had malicious script in the back end allowed the attacker to get access.
Mhm.
What was scary about that is that it was a dedicated specific email at a specific time. It was sent during April,
Mm.
the exact time of when people would be hot and heavy in the tax industry trying to get taxes done. He's not paying attention. And they knew he was an accountant. I mean, you're talking about a solopreneur that works out of his house and is getting spear phishing. That's a term that we use in cybersecurity for when a target is very specifically and narrowly focused.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to focus on CEOs or something like that. That's a
Mhm.
spear phishing attack to a small business owner, a solopreneur. That almost has never happened before, and now we're seeing that's what
Yeah.
we're gonna have to do. You're gonna have to
Yeah.
be a lot more, like we talked about in the beginning. You have to be a lot more aware of what you're doing online nowadays. Like, you can't trust
Right.
anything.
Right, exactly. There's a lot of people that are becoming entrepreneurs overnight to using the tools like AI, but they need more complex information and education on protecting themselves as a business owner, but also protecting their assets. So that's very insightful information. And I feel like moving forward, even us having this conversation is going to give them the insight of like, oh, I should probably go, download this application to protect my business just in case I'm getting phished. Because even without being a business owner, we get those random like UPS text or on our phones of
Mm,
opening up this document, and that document leads you into them hacking your cell phone or hacking your Gmail account. So
yep.
we're very aware, but again, like our generations before us, and even generations after us, they're kind of like, oh, like, what's this button? Let me click it. And then the whole thing blows up. So, like, I'm just thinking of how can we just make them more aware of to watch out for these signs, or what is like the best way to educate them of like, if you didn't order anything from UPS, don't open the message.
Hmm. Yes. Um, and the biggest thing is to be almost paranoid. Like,
Mm.
I tell people this, like, you need to always think, if you're on a digital device, that this isn't real. Someone has already compromised me. That's how
Mhm.
I think. That's how we're taught to train to think when we're in cybersecurity, that your system is already compromised. We're just trying to figure it out now.
Mhm.
Um, it gets us into this mindset that nothing is what it seems.
Yeah.
It helps us to ask questions further.
Mhm.
Why does this person need this information right now? Why is it urgent?
Right.
That's a big thing. Urgency and, like, timely matter, this sort of thing. Uh,
Mm.
it plays into people's panic, their fight or flight, and they make
Mhm.
poor decisions. Uh,
Right.
There
due
should
to that.
be so there should be at least a
Mhm.
base set of protocols, that there should be an understanding. Like, if you're a solopreneur, as you say, and a lone
Mhm.
accountant, you should say, hey, I'm not going to accept any W-2s or secure information through email. Don't even send it. Don't bother.
Yeah.
I'm going to reject it. You go through my portal, and that's what my accountant does. But
Yes.
also, there should be an understanding, like gates. Like, all my customers know that any information that is being sent that obviously isn't secured financial stuff, that goes through the portal. But my
Mhm.
communication with you is between these hours, and or some kind of understanding, so
Yes.
that if something happens outside of those hours, or is not part of this pattern that everybody knows, then that's something to raise a flag. Because you did mention something that is kind of frightening, is that now with AI, they can easily focus on things that weren't previously focused on. There's these people that were just sitting in their office, doing their thing, and all of a sudden now they're vulnerable, where they
Mhm.
were before, but they just weren't a possible target. They weren't a likely target. Now
Yes.
they are.
Right.
And yeah, and they can do this in mass. And that's
Yeah.
what
Mhm.
that's what we're seeing. We're
Yeah.
seeing massive amounts of fraud happening but it only ever reaches a certain level. It doesn't boil up to the FBI level. it goes right below there, so it flies under the radar. They know where how much they can really handle and things. So they focus on the smaller, more vulnerable businesses. Cybersecurity now is on the small businesses. 43% of our economy is small businesses, and the majority of those businesses don't have cyber protection, like 80%.
Right. Yeah, which they clearly do need having this
Yeah,
conversation, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, so let's answer this question here. What
yeah.
kind of cybersecurity concerns are there for industries that have diverse compliance regulations across states and countries, such as the cannabis industry? So myself, I do work with cannabis agencies and dispensaries and things like that, but of course we have the drive for the compliance part. So
Mhm.
yeah, what do you think, Nick?
It really depends on the area of operation that you have you're storing that information in.
Hmm.
So, for example, the U.S. has data laws that are vastly different than the U.K.
Hmm.
And on all other parts of the world. So, wherever your operations are, be knowledgeable about what those data laws are. How are you supposed to handle the information that you're given? If you're a dispensary that's taking in patient data just to make the transaction, how are you making sure that patient data is secure? How are you making sure your Wi-Fi and your dispensaries are secure? If you're a doctor, that's HIPAA and all the other compliances
Right.
that you have.
Yeah.
And then you have payment card industry and all this other compliance standards.
Mhm.
Knowledgeable, or at least find the people that are knowledgeable about
Yeah.
this information. Find the experts that you need to have on your team, so
Mhm.
they know, so you can ask them, hey, am I good here? If I store data in the UK and it's personal information that I scraped from a website that people went to, what kind of information and data privacy laws do I have to follow?
Mhm.
Um, that is very vastly different in the UK and in the US and in Canada. All those three
Yeah.
different places have vastly different laws.
Yeah, and I think the main problem here with the cannabis industry is that cannabis is looked, well, to me, as a medicine, a really amazing plant, right? So the
Hmm.
stigma behind it, comparing with like their different loopholes that they're going over, and then within the health and wellness and healthcare space. So I can give you a prime example of this that I just noticed recently. Grubhub is partnering now with other cannabis brands to
Mm.
deliver your food with a cannabis strain that you're ordering either through a dispensary or through an agency, right? So I find that it is going to be more regular if Grubhub is jumping on it, and I think that's going to open up the access to other companies that are looking to, make this part of their business model of selling like a t-shirt with a cannabis like a cannabis product. So I feel like eventually, of course, the with you, Nick, maybe you can help one of the cannabis companies out there, but eventually I feel like they're going to have more free reign and more information to protect themselves as a business, but also protect their consumers as well. If they're ordering a cannabis type of product to their apartment or to their house through a Grubhub application. Grubhub has their own compliance. They were just selling food with other vendors. Now they're partnering with cannabis vendors. So we will see what happens in the future. I'm just hoping this opens up doors for all the other cannabis companies out there to jump on this new model, because it is coming the new norm now. We're looking at the competition between the healthcare industry, the wellness industry, but also pushing into the wellness cannabis. So I'm excited to see, how we can balance all that out together.
Yes, it's going to be a challenge. I definitely look forward to the challenge, though,
Hmm.
because it's something that's needed. I think that cannabis is a great healer in the industry, or in the world, and especially for, I'm as a veteran, for other veterans like myself that have been beneficial from it. But
Hmm.
I also see that there's going to be a lot of, yes, more regulatory and compliance standards that you're going to have to meet. constantly. It's going to be an ever-growing list of compliance standards by the states and things like that you're going to have to meet. You're going to have to talk about patient data. You're talking about liability involved in a data breach, possible data breach. What if let's say that you don't even take in patient data? What if you just take in you're running a website and you take in a contact form. Anyone signs up for your contact for your newsletter can get this information. Well, now you have a stored database of people that are interested in a certain topic. That is now a valuable list.
Yeah.
That you have to maintain and secure that.
Right. Exactly.
I have a question about that.
Go ahead. I would love to hear your opinion.
Yeah. So now this was a good scenario. Now for your company, is there something what would you do, in a case like this where we've got a company that spans, the borders, and are you aware of all the laws in those areas that this company spans? And what would does your company deal with something like that?
Yes, we do. We have international people in Canada and in the UK and things like that. And I've even had in my career to deal with a lot of different interesting international laws. One of them being I worked for a company that had manufacturing in China, and Chinese data laws says that any data saved in China is owned by the Chinese government. They can just access it whenever they want. So if you go to if you go through the Beijing airport and they think that you have information on your phone that they want, they're just going to walk up to you and take it out of your hand, and there's nothing you can do about it. So we had an interesting scenario we had to get. How do we secure the operations in China while still maintaining operations and clarity between the UK and other countries, and not have the Chinese government link back into our UK operations? So we had to still operate while having people in an area. It was very complicated and very complex. It took us a while to figure it out, but yeah, we basically made it a dirty network and segmented it all off and had to do a whole bunch of crazy networking stuff. It was wild.
Yeah, I'm just and I know partially what you're talking about, so I'm kind of picturing it in my mind, this crazy maze of operations. Now, do you offer? So I'm imagining, let's see, even a smaller company, but does span borders, and they don't know necessarily where they have vulnerabilities, and let's say they're on a really tight budget. Would they come to you and? First of all, would you have a class that they could take to get them up to speed with what are the concerns that they should be looking for? And then the next step up would be, okay, well, is there a level 1 commitment to you and vice versa for this? And what would that entail? What would your responsibilities be, and what would that look like?
Yeah, so I like to do a lot of cybersecurity assessments for businesses and just go through that. Yes, it could be a training session. It could be, or we sit down and just talk about their operations and find the holes and talk about how to patch them. I do that for every single client that comes to me. Even if they can do that as a standalone service if they want, but no matter what service they're getting with me, I always sit down and talk with them, because cybersecurity is one of those things where you have to really know intimately how someone operates, how their business works, how they take in data, how they take in money, how they interact with clients, how they communicate with them. All those sort of things go into that, and we have to learn that over time. And we do that. We start that learning process in the assessment.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating on how your guys' brain works together.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tylee. I'm just enjoying
taking
this all in.
I've got these networks in my head, and I'm seeing all the vulnerable points. I don't know it to the level of our engineers that put it together, but I've tried to navigate, just a couple layers of it, and I get lost. So and when it stops me and says you don't have access and you need more rights, I just broadcast that out to the people, and they just take care of it. So it's it's a amazing situation you're in, and I'm glad you're in it because we need more people on our side to keep us safe. And I go back to the moms and the pops and the grandparents that and quite justifiably are afraid of technology. And although they're, to put it a harsh way, they're dying off, and the new realm of the technical savvy people are also getting older, and they're not paying attention so much to all these little things, and they might be just like sitting at home and doing their word scramble thing, and a message comes up. So I would say, what would be the next thing that you would say to everybody? Or maybe we should. How much time do we have left? Well, I don't want to lose this thought. What would you say to the general public as a bare minimum, in like the simplest possible terms? And think of me as maybe an older person that doesn't understand the technical understanding of what we do, but what would you tell them to protect themselves at the very least?
Trust, but never trust, always verify. I used to say trust but verify, but that goes against our zero trust policy.
Zero trust,
never trust, never trust, always verify.
Yeah,
always verify it. If you get a call from your grandson at 3 a.m. that says they've been kidnapped, you better call someone else or the police. You better not just like immediately pay it.
Right. He better call his girlfriend, his friend, someone that knows him.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
That stuff happens all the time, and it's so easy now with AI. I actually teach cybersecurity, and one of the modules I teach is how to clone your voice and use it in cyber attacks.
That's brilliant. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that was something that came up a few years back. Not to me, but I knew somebody that did, was on the receiving end of one of these calls, and I'm like, well, that's quite doable. Somebody just random could mimic your grandson, and he's in trouble. And how do you not want to help out your grandson? He's in, some dark alley, and he's got this one call.
Exactly.
So, yeah, absolutely.
You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that last question there, Tylee. That's very important, especially for the people that are out there getting those AI voice agents over the phone. I experience this
Yeah.
myself with other people calling me, but it's like inquiries I put online looking at real estate. I'll get like a real estate agent on the line, and I actually think it's a person, but it's an AI voice. I was like, this is getting super human like, and it's kind of scary.
Yeah, and
Honestly, right?
It used to be
Yeah.
that you could trick them into divulging that they're a robot of some sort, but now it's almost impossible.
Yeah. I mean, to think back to it, to last note, instead of being fearful or scared, I would say lean in, but be very cautious. And like what Nick was saying, like you said, authentify first, then trust, you were saying at the end.
Never trust, always verify.
Yes, never trust, always verify is so important. I'm going to go by that now. Last question to end our beautiful conversation. What guidance would you offer to business owners looking to enter the field of cybersecurity, especially those interested in serving small to medium-sized businesses? Because cybersecurity is definitely going to be trending when we're moving to the future with AI and technology. So do you have any guidance for others that are interested in that field?
Just start networking now. The only way that you get trust in this in the industry is by networking, and we need trust to do our jobs. So start that network, shaking hands, kissing babies.
Yes.
Kissing
And
babies.
reach out. Yes. Please. Yes,
Yeah.
right. And please feel free to reach out to Nick, because you're very educated and you have a lot of knowledge about cybersecurity all across the board. So if you have any other questions or even interested in cybersecurity, please reach out to Nick Gipson. Thank you so much for joining the Vynora podcast. I feel like this was definitely a needed conversation. Go ahead, Tylee.
Well, I was going to say, and Nick, how do people get in touch with you?
Yes, I'm on LinkedIn, and also my website, gipsoncyber.com. That's Gipson with a P, Gipson cyber.com. And there's a contact form, things like that. You can call us.
Fantastic.
Great. Thank you
This has been
so
really
much.
exciting and
Yeah,
really
right?
eye-opening. I really appreciate you being here. And
Right.
Yeah,
and
thanks for having me.
Alecia, I'm very appreciative of being co-host here. This was
Of
fun.
course. I feel like, yeah, I feel like we're gonna do a lot more of this because you have the way that your brain works, Tylee. I love it, especially the conversation that we're just having with Nick. It's
Yeah,
very fascinating to me how you guys are able to take these complex programs or this conversation and dilute it into more of a simple format where everybody can understand how
yeah.
cybersecurity works and use it to their best ability, but also reach out to Nick if they have any other questions, of course.
Mhm.
I
Yes.
would love to have you on again because at some point, that information, like this information just needs to keep getting out there.
Yes,
Right.
love
So
to do it.
yeah.
Yes. So yes, thank you, Nick. You can reach him LinkedIn on his website. Thank you so much for joining, and we hope to see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Nick.